want to welcome everybody to our third destination series. And this is Destination Series Kilimanjaro. Last week we did Destination Series Patagonia. And this week we're doing the details of our Kilimanjaro climbs in Tanzania, Africa. So what I'm going to do is share my screen. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show a presentation on Kilimanjaro. And I want to welcome Dr. Blaine Langberg to our webinar this week. Blaine is a orthodontist from Connecticut. And in 2018, he and I met in Tanzania, Africa, and it was a pleasure. We got to climb Kilimanjaro together. And like so many of our trips, the guests are the big part of my experience. And it was really fun to get to meet Blaine. So Blaine, thank you for making the time for us today and welcome.
Thanks for having me, Dean. I'm really excited to be here and share my experience.
Yeah, so you're from Connecticut, and we were talking the other day, but it seems that this was your first international adventure, so to say.
It was. So I love hiking. I always have. And for my 40th birthday, I hiked Mount Whitney, which is in Lone Pine, a little bit east of LA. And that was fun. I did it with some buddies from California. And we did it in a day, which is kind of intense. And I wanted something a little bit different for my 45th birthday. And I decided, I did some research and I thought Kilimanjaro would be really cool. I don't mountaineer, I love hiking, but I would consider myself like a moderate hiker, not like, intense. And again, nothing really technical. And do you remember how I found you? I don't know if you remember. I was Googling, researching the Harvard Alumni Association or dental school. And you actually were you collaborate with them. So you run their trips, I remembered. And I couldn't do it through Harvard. I happened to be, that was the year of my daughter's bat mitzvah, my oldest. And I just reached out to you. I remember I called you and you answered the phone. And I was like, oh, that's cool. The owner of
I think you called me after hours. That's right. Everybody had gone home. And I do remember talking to you for a while. And that was even early, like it was a year later or something that you actually did the climb, right?
Yeah, you were amazing. You helped, you really, we customized the date. You're like, hey, I can work around your schedule, which I thought was just amazing. So we had a date around July 4th, so I didn't have to spend too much time closing the office. And you made me feel so comfortable. I had literally the last time I had camped overnight was when I was a kid. So I was pretty nervous about that. I was pretty nervous about going to the bathroom outside, and you're like, we got that taken care of. With ice tents and stuff. And yeah, I got your book. So I felt really like, hey, this guy it's been intense. He knows what he's doing. So I felt really comfortable at our first experience, chatting together.
That's great. And what we'll do, Blaine, is I'm going to go through, talk a little bit about the trip in general, and I'm going to have you interject your experience along the way as we go through the presentations. That sound good?
Sounds great.
So for everybody joining us, the world is a big place, and Tanzania is in East Africa. So if you could see my pointer here, Tanzania is right here. In East Africa, and it is just below the equator line. So we have the equator here. Tanzania is just below the equator line, about 200 miles south of the equator is where Kilimanjaro is. That being said, the best time of year to climb Kilimanjaro, which is often a question, is during their dry season. They have 2 wet seasons and 2 dry seasons. So it goes dry from June through October, and then again in December and January, starting into February. So we do a lot of our climbs in June, July through the summer months for us. And it gives us better weather on the mountain and a better chance of success. Kilimanjaro is the highest point on the African continent. It's 19,341 feet above sea level, and it's the highest freestanding mountain in the world. So it's a really unique, and I know made famous from the Snows of Kilimanjaro book, and just a long history. I think, being a mountain climber, the mountains that people generally recognize, Kilimanjaro is one of those mountains that has a very good recognition to it, for a lot of reason.
Don't forget the song by Toto that helped make
Yeah,
Kilimanjaro.
there you go. So yeah, a number of things. Um, it's got 7 different routes up the mountain, um, from different sides, from the west, from the south, from the east, and even from the northeast side. We primarily focus on the Machame Route. So the Machame Route is a 7-day climb on the mountain. And I feel that it gives our guests a really good acclimatization method, and it also gives them a better chance to summit the top. So typically, people are going to fly over to Tanzania, Africa. They're going to connect through Amsterdam, and then there's one flight daily that flies directly from Amsterdam straight into Kilimanjaro Airport. JRO is the airport code. It usually lands in the evening, and then we go about 20 minutes, and just like all of our trips, it's really important that we pick really comfortable lodging, that we have really nice accommodations for our guests for the 2 nights prior to their climb on this one, and then for the 1 night after our climb. So we get there in the evening. We usually do a welcome reception, and then the following morning we have breakfast, and after breakfast, just like all of our trips, we have a good briefing with the whole group to make sure that everybody understands the game plan. People can ask questions. They get a really good, now they're there. We hope that the anxiety before their trip has now started to relax a little bit. They've met the other people in the group, and we can talk about the details about what they're about to do. Another important part of that is our gear check. So in Tanzania, we do our briefing after breakfast. The group goes on a cultural walking tour. They tour a coffee plantation. They go out for the day. They get to mingle with each other and just interact with local people. And then when they come back, our guides, myself or whomever's the leader on the trip, goes from room to room and checks all their gear. So Blaine, when you were gearing up for the trip, I'm sure that you had some preconceived notions about what it was going to be like when you arrived, and then when you did arrive, what was the difference? I mean, did you find it differently than what you expected, or how was that?
Yeah, I honestly went in without not many preconceived notions. I would say you guys handled it great. I mean, we were met at the airport, which was really cool, and had I remember the dinner the night before, which was nice to get to know everybody. Um, and I love when I go to places, like I love just getting into the culture of of the town or the city and the country. And I thought you did a great job. I do remember like that first day, just kind of getting acclimated, a bit jet lagged. And we went around to that small town. I forget the name. I'm sure you know it by heart in Tanzania. And it was
Uh-huh.
just walking around with the locals and getting to getting an introduction to the plantation there. And I remember just bonding with everybody with our group of 8. It was great. Yeah, it was like a nice kind of slow introduction to what lay ahead.
Yeah, we try to do these cultural walking days for a lot of reasons, like somebody's bags can be delayed, or they've been on a plane for a long time, and just to stretch the legs. But it also helps them intermingle with the groups. A lot of the times I'm preparing, or the lead guide's preparing for the trip, so we don't go, and it gives them a little chance to just interact. And I find that the people relax a little bit more after just kind of settling in from the day than rushing right to the mountain, because then the next day,
Yeah.
after our evening dinner, people go to bed and get some good rest because they have been traveling a lot. And then the next day we go to the trailhead. We make our way on this one to the Machame Gate, and we have to weigh in all the bags and get everything ready. And then we start our way up through the rainforest. Um, Africa and Tanzania, Kilimanjaro is really interesting in the fact that we go through multiple eco changes along the way. And I think one of the things that makes it so nice is that we're always in a different eco zone, or we change and then we might come back to one and then continue out of it. But down in the area where we land and spend the first couple nights is the cultivation zone. So that's where they have a lot of agriculture and growing crops and things like that. People are living down there. And then on the climb, we go from the rainforest to the heath, the moorland, into the alpine desert, and then up to the glaciers, right up to the Arctic. So it's really an amazing journey to see all of that in a week. And as we work our way up through the rainforest the first day, if you look at the picture on the lower right, it's really important for us that when guests spend the day and we pace them out, and they go all day long, and we stop for a sit down lunch, and then we go slowly, and we really have to curb their anxious desires to make sure that they're starting out slow. We have to acclimatize, we have to go slow, and it's a long journey, so we want to pace that out. But we also want to make sure that the camps are really comfortable. So on the lower right hand corner, you can see one of our camps, our big dining dome, all the guest tents. And in the back, there's 3 toilet tents there that are close by. This looks like the morning where our guys are getting a table set out with coffee and tea and that kind of things to serve in the tents. And then washing station by the dining area so they can wash hands before going into the dining tent. And the big blue tarps where they put their duffel in the morning. Our guests all carry their day pack, and we have porters and a huge staff that helps carry the loads. So if you see this here, a little bit better picture of it. All that preparation taking place so our guests can get good rest, eat well, and get ready for the next day. So we start up through the rainforest, and that pace is super important for us. It's important that we kind of just keep the group slowly moving. We stop for a lot of water and snack breaks, and then midday stop for a nice lunchtime meal. And they're starting to get to know each other. Blaine, you were alone on this trip, right?
Yeah, I was. Met some great people though, as you can
You
see.
came alone, and that's kind of what I mean. You come alone.
Yeah.
I get a lot of people that asks like, "Oh, should I? I don't know if I should come alone." And what's your experience about being alone? You don't look alone to me, right?
Oh no, it was amazing. I'm really glad I went alone. I felt like there were not somebody would hinder me at all, but like just free to meet people. There were definitely there was a brother and sister, I remember, a son and his mom, and two good friends, and then yeah, Jack came with his aunt. So there were some pairs and stuff like that. But it was great. I mean, everybody was super willing to just to get to know everybody. In fact, if you remember, I sat with Jack on the airplane totally by coincidence.
Yeah, that's right. I do.
That was really funny, but it was great. We really became a close-knit group. Do you remember the incident of the birthday cake? Can I tell a funny story?
Yeah, sure. Tell the story.
So, and that's what's great. I like to joke with you, like, Peter and I joked, this was like concierge Kilimanjaro at first. Like, you really took care of us, which I liked. I mean, we both liked because Peter is in the upper left corner there, and he's a bit older than me. But it was like you could take care of the hike and your pack and getting to know people, and you guys took care of like the hard stuff, kind of getting from our stuff from camp to camp, and the meals were just nice to have, like the comfort of that. But then it is really hard to breathe up there. So you don't realize like the physical part takes a toll. So it was nice to like concentrate on that and enjoy the journey. And you guys take care of the other stuff. But the one funny story is all of a sudden there was a cake and you guys, the porters and you started singing happy birthday. And we're all looking around to see whose birthday it is. And all of a sudden it goes down in front of Peter and he's smiling and blows out the candles. And you left and we're like, happy birthday. He goes, it's not my birthday. We're like, what? You know, he's like, oh, it's so thoughtful of Dean. And it said July 5th. And he's like, my birthday's May 7th. And he switched the numbers on his intake form.
Because he was from Europe. So the office thought when he switched his numbers and they didn't make a month difference.
Right.
Yeah, it was very funny.
We had the best laugh, but it shows how caring you were. Like that was so funny. We were cracking up. That was a good.
And now he has 2 birthdays.
Yes, his Kilimanjaro birthday and his European birthday.
And right along those lines, this photo is a picture of our one of our waiters, Bima, doing the morning service. And it's hard enough, and that's what we realize is that it's hard enough for people to hike all day, and anything that you can do to help them be more comfortable, to get better rest, is really important. So in the morning and in the evening, we bring hot water bowls to the tent for people to wash up with a washcloth and that kind of thing. But I think people really do also enjoy the morning call service where we bring in hot cocoa, coffee, tea, hot drinks to their tent when we first shake the tent to get them up. Those first couple of days on the mountain, a lot of people might not get the rest that they do at home. They're sleeping at altitude, they're in a tent and that kind of thing. Some people sleep great, but anything we can do to give people a little bit more comfort along the way is really important to us. So our camps are moved each day. We never stay in the same camp twice on Kilimanjaro. We move and pack up that camp each day. And again, you see in this photo all of the guest tents. They're 4-person tents for each 2 guests. They've got a pad in there, and then they usually bring a pad. There's plenty of room. They're 4 seasons tents, so they're warm and dry. And then you see our large dining dome on the left, and the smaller dining dome is the cook tent. And then we've got a number of porter tents in the back and scattered about camps, as well as all of the portable toilets as well. So here's another camp. We're moving every single day, setting up camps. It's also very important to me and to our crew where we set our camps up, making sure that they're in a really nice part of camp. And then it's experience over the years. If you see the tent on the right, it's got that number 3 on it. Well, it only took so many times where I had a guest come out from the toilet tent in the middle of the night and look at 6 or 7 yellow tents in a row and wonder where their tent was. So, we decided to number each tent with a little reflective number. And just, it sounds so minor, but I know for our guests, it's such a small but huge detail. And they come out to their tent, their flashlight or their headlamp. They see that they're in tent 4. They're not looking around. It also helps our staff put their duffel bags in their tent and show them to their tent when they arrive at camp tired at the end of the day. So we're not unzipping tents and peeking in there and trying to find your duffel bag. We're able to just make sure that people can go directly to their tent and get out of their hiking clothes and clean up and get comfortable and then come over to the dining tent. The dining tent is one of those things that is really fun for us. It's a huge mountain hardware space station. It's got a floor in it, table, chairs, tablecloths, all of the regular utensils and everything else, and really good meals. We have to make sure that we have a huge variety of food on Kilimanjaro. And that way, as appetites get sluggish when you go to higher altitudes, people have a variety of things to choose from because we need them to eat well and we need them to hydrate as well. You can see on the lower right there, a midday lunch where it was a beautiful day, so we might not set up the dining tent. But even during the day, the upper right hand corner is a lunch stop up a little higher on the mountain where we actually even put up the dining tent for the guests when they come in, because we want them to take that hour break, have lunch, get well rested, acclimatize while they're eating lunch, and then we press on to camp after lunch. So, it's a number of beautiful camps and a number of beautiful spots that we're looking at. I mean, you can see here in the upper left-hand portion of the photograph there, where we're at a camp. You can see Machame Route in the distance. That's the second highest point on in Tanzania. We're above the clouds. We're about 13,000 feet. And, guests that, like Blaine, had never really camped since he was a little kid, maybe on a weekend getaway or a backyard adventure, are going to really be able to handle this trip.
And you know what I like too, Dean, was
Yeah.
even the little things that you gave me advice on, like when it got cold at night when the sun went down, and just like having the extra water bottle that you told us to bring, and then you would bring the heated water bottle, and I would never know that. You said, put it in your sleeping bag, that'll warm you up, and things like that were really great advice.
Yeah, it's all those little details. I mean, the Nalgene bottles, people bring them. We put boiling water in them after dinner, and then you tuck it in your sleeping bag, maybe down by your feet or on your stomach. And, really those little details. Also having people, put their camera batteries away and just kind of get ready for the night and that kind of thing. It's fun to share all those little details, and especially with people that, aren't as used to camping and being on mountains and all of these things. One of the things that I really wanted to stress as we talked about is our amazing teams all around the world, but in Tanzania, we have a large crew. It's one of the places that we travel on these trips, and we don't use other forms of transportation for baggage like yaks in Nepal or things like that. There's nothing like that allowed in the national park. So of course we're able to employ a huge amount of guys. And Blaine, I think you could probably remember some of these guys and the spirits that they have and their attitudes.
Oh, they were incredible. They really made the trip even better than it was. Just how positive they were, how fun they were. I remember hiking along and singing songs with them. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Going into camp, they're dancing and stuff. They really are joyous. It was awesome.
Yeah, they're really great guys. We've worked together for a really long time. We definitely, are really a family over there on Kilimanjaro in Tanzania. We spent a lot of time together. I think this is what you're talking about, where we're coming into camp here, and here's all the guys waiting, and then they doing a bunch of singing and dancing and getting everybody together at the end.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good time, and trying to have fun always. And I think that that's a really big part of all of the trips that we do, and especially this one on Kilimanjaro. To me, it's really important that people enjoy the journey. It's all really about the journey and enjoying ourselves along the way. But I just always want to give a huge shout out to the guys over there on Kilimanjaro. Here's Sunday, one of our lead guides on the left. I mean, we've done so many trips together. I've climbed Kilimanjaro more than 60 times as a guide. And you can imagine how incredibly close I get to these guys. We're in constant contact. And it's just an amazing adventure throughout. And having fun. This is Blaine. I think you're in the lower right hand corner on this photograph. This is at the top of the
Yeah,
Bronco Wall,
yeah.
and we do these jumps up on the edge of the cliff band there, just a little bit off from the edge. And it's really fun for people getting up above the clouds there and doing their climb or their jumps. And as we get further up on the mountain, you can see in this photograph the environment changing quite a bit from the rainforest. And we go through, the alpine desert here. And as we're in the alpine desert, the plant life is much smaller. vegetation is more desert-like. And when plants and life like that struggle, we know that our guests as well struggled. So acclimatization is super important on our trips. We start down here, the first camp at the Machame camp, just over 9,000 feet. The second camp we go to, the sheer camp, 12,500 feet. And then on the third day, super critical that we go up over this lava tower pass at 15,000 feet. So we climb high, and then we descend into the Barranco Valley down to the Barranco camp, where we spend the next 2 nights at 13 or so at the Karanga Valley camp. And this helps us acclimatize, so we get ready. It is a huge endeavor to climb to 19,000 feet in 5 days. So that acclimatization day is a super key to our success and getting people to safely be able to ascend up to 19,000 feet. The following day, we make our way to the Barafu camp for lunch. And then we always push it a little further, just below 16,000 feet, to this camp called Kosovo. And Kosovo needs a special permit. I'd say that if not all, most of the other outfitters use the Barafu camp as their high camp. We go about an hour and a half higher. It puts us an hour and a half closer to the summit. And then when we get up in the middle of the night, we head out towards the top. What did you think of that part, Blaine? Getting up, 11:30 or 12 or whenever we did. I switch with every group.
Well, one thing before I just wanted to mention came to mind. I know it may sound weird, but like hiking Kilimanjaro, I mean, every single day was a completely different hike, even though you're on the same trail. As you said, just the change in the vegetation and the scenery, it was awesome. It was like every day had its unique personality. And I love that about the trip. The night before was tough. I mean, I remember being pretty nervous. I do remember you gave a great pep talk. Just, you're going to have to dig down deep. This is it. It's about the journey, as you kept on emphasizing, but this is just more about us now, and just like having just the mentality of doing it for everybody. And I do remember when we went, there was a lot of ice on the snow on the mountain. So last minute bringing by mini spikes. So that was a little nerve wracking for me. And then, but I'm like, okay, let's do it. I'm doing this no matter what. And then we had a windstorm. I don't know if you remember, like one of the tents blew away and I was laying in bed. I couldn't, we had to take a bit of a nap. You wanted us to take a nap. And I remember being like, oh, all this time and we're not going to summit. The wind's going to, he's not going to do it. And I remember the porters like running around, getting the tent that blew away. And I couldn't sleep at all. And you woke up in the morning. We had you at 11:30, we woke up for like a little kind of last meal before the summit. And we were all like, oh, the wind, oh my God. And you were like, what wind? You slept through it. It was pretty funny. We thought, but we did it. Like we weren't going to let a little wind get in the way, but I thought it was the end. But I'm really glad. Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, I definitely remember being pretty nervous. We picked up the pace a lot. I remember just the thing that surprised me most was just catching my breath. Like, as you said, it is hard to breathe up there, and losing my appetite. I remember not really wanting to eat, but knew that this was the last push.
I think that a lot of times when you're laying in your tent at 11 o'clock and 10 o'clock at night, and it's summit night, that there's a lot of the times where the tent, it sounds like a lot more wind on the tent than is when you actually get outside.
Yeah, I had no idea what to expect, but you definitely prepared us nicely for like we each had a porter, and I remember it was hard to like as I was climbing up, and then my porter took my backpack, so like then I could just concentrate, which I was like, oh, I can do my backpack, but then I'm like, you know what, no,
It's better.
We concentrate on like 1 foot at a time.
We leave, and a lot of people ask why we leave at 11:30 or so at night, and a lot of the reason is because we want to be up on the top of the mountain for sunrise at 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning. And that's because we have to make our way to the top of the mountain. We have our time on top of the mountain, and then we've got to come all the way back down to the high camp. We take a nap. We spend a couple hours resting, get back up, have lunch, and then we actually descend down the mountain until the very last camp. But those mornings at 19,000 feet, like in this photo, when the sun's first coming up and we're about ready to summit, for me, guiding more than 60, 65 groups on Kilimanjaro, honestly, I still get choked up when I know my whole group's going to make it. And you know that they're going to make it before they do a lot of the times. And the sun's coming up. I know where we are on the mountain. I see how everybody's moving. I love this picture in the upper right. This is one of our guides with a woman that's coming up on the top of Kilimanjaro, and he's holding her hand. And I just think that that's the true spirit of guiding, is pushing people beyond what they think they're capable of doing, but not what they're capable of. And it's really great. I never really noticed that until I saw the picture. You're just up there snapping some photos. And then, and then I saw that, but the sun comes up and we see the glaciers and look down on the clouds, and you're on the highest point in Tanzania and the highest point in the African continent. And it is truly a special feeling. It's one of the great pleasures of my life, is to experience this with so many people, and all these big groups. And I like to think of them as groups of individuals, like Blaine and his experience and all these other guests that we had. Blaine, when you got to the top, did you have thoughts, or did that come later in reflection? Did you think, what were you thinking at this point here, your summit photo on the right?
Actually, it's funny. I do remember you getting like choked up a little bit and I would consider us like a family at that point in time. So it was really cool. Like you were really proud of us. I was proud of the group. I was proud of myself. Yeah, it was amazing. I have to, like halfway up, you're like, are we there yet? And then it just feels like forever. But once you make it, it was an amazing feeling. I remember
I do
thinking,
think there is that family element. I do think that, you get really close to people in a short amount of time going through these types of experiences.
yeah,
And the great thing for me is to see these people and how hard they've worked to pull this off, because it's not easy. You can agree with that, but it's definitely doable. And it's definitely something
yeah.
that well above 90% of our guests make the top. I mean, it's definitely an amazing experience. And then we come
Yeah, I mean,
down.
I feel like if I could do it, then anybody can, like really it was a novice, and it was cool to like do that with everybody's help.
Yeah, it's a really fun thing. This is our last meal in the lodge when everybody comes back. This wasn't Blaine's trip, but this is one of our other groups. And we come back down from the summit. We spend one more night on the mountain. We make our way to the trailhead. It's a really fun and a little bittersweet. We say goodbye to all the guys because they return home to their families, and all the guys from the mountain crew. And then we return back to, beautiful hotel. And we really like to host these private dinners, just our group. So just like in the dining tent, we can be together to share stories, reflect on the experience, and kind of have an evening where, everybody's had a hot shower and they're cleaned up, and they're kind of basking in the the joy of what they just accomplished. I'd say that a lot of our groups, most of them usually add on a wildlife safari afterwards. We do a lot of these wildlife safaris in the Serengeti, Tarangire, Lake Manyara national parks, with our safari jeeps. 4 days is very common. Some people do 6 days or more. We also do a number of humanitarian efforts in Tanzania with our Human Outreach Project. We've got a 4-acre piece of land with an orphanage on it. We feed over 1,000 kids lunch every day. And we really, really enjoy connecting with the local communities. All around the world. In Tanzania, we've got a lot of great projects. It's super meaningful for me as a business owner to be able to thank and give back to the local areas that assist us in our adventures. Some people head out to Zanzibar Island. It's one of the spice islands, the white sand beaches out there on the Indian Ocean, another great way to conclude things. On all of our trips, we send you a trip detail. It's got all of the details that you're going to need for preparation for the trip, about visas, about travel, about the details when you get there, the accommodations. And a big part of it is the gear list. It's itemized. It's got links. You can, consult with us as you're starting to purchase things. And it's a really great trip. I am guiding a trip on Kilimanjaro this June 18th. Tanzania is open. We had a guest climb Kilimanjaro in December. And I know that there's a lot of people that have been through the last year of the coronavirus and everything else. We're hoping that things are on the track to see improvement in the months to come slowly. And it would be great to for me to be able to join another group of friends over there on Kilimanjaro. And it's just such a special place, and it's a place that I personally get great joy in bringing people and pushing people to their limits over there and seeing them accomplish these great goals. Blaine, I wanted to end by asking you about your book. I got your book here, and
Thanks,
I
Dean.
see that you are an American Fiction Awards winner, which I've written a book, and I know it's no easy achievement to do that. Can you tell us a little bit about your book?
Thank you, Dean. I appreciate that. Yeah, so as you said, I'm an orthodontist by day and an author at night. So I love to write and tell a good story. So this is pretty much my midlife crisis, turning 40, and my spiritual journey, learning about meditation and Buddhism. I like to call it Seinfeld meets the Celestine Prophecy, or pitch it as if you're a seeker with a sense of humor. So the characters don't go to Kilimanjaro. I think that may be a sequel for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, but it's kind of fun, humorous, and kind of a romp with, learning about different religions and learning about spirituality in the context of an erotic Jewish dentist.
Awesome. Well, what we'll do is we'll put it in the link in the description below. We do this live right now, and then next Saturday this will go on our YouTube channel. Last week's destination series Patagonia went live on YouTube today. So next week this one will be going out, and we'll link your book below our description on that as well. Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and thank you, Blaine. Really appreciate your insight to your climb on Kilimanjaro. It's really fun for me to hear your perspective, and we really love our guests. We really love when they accomplish the goals that they set out for, and we look forward to building relationships that lead to more adventures. So it's great to hear that you want to do some more stuff in the future. So,
And I just want to say to you, Dean, I've done a lot of cool things in my life. I've been, lucky and hard work. I think the mixing of the two has been really great. And for sure, along with some of my milestones, like graduating from dental school and Harvard, and of course, my marriage to Rachel and my 3 amazing daughters, the trip to Kilimanjaro is up there. Like, it's one of the coolest things I've done. So I do appreciate you, lending me your hand and your company for letting me have that experience. So thank you.
yeah, thanks. It's always our pleasure, and I'll pass that on to our team here in the office and the guys overseas. But great to see you. I want to thank everybody for joining us
Thanks.
on our destination series Kilimanjaro, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. We're going to talk about Southern Utah, and we'll have a special guest in for that as well. But Dr. Blaine, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too, Dean. Take care.
Okay, take care.
You too.